Hey, second and third grade. All right, so in both grades, we have been talking about lines, lots of different types of lines. We've been talking about contour lines in third grade and how to use lines for interest. And we've been talking in second grade about being expressive with our lines and different emotions. And so now we've drawn a lot of lines, and now we're going to try to use a different skill. We are going to cut our lines today. So I know all the grades sent home scissors in your material distribution. So I know you guys have scissors. I can't find my teacher scissors, so I'm going to use these little guys. So, okay, some reminders about cutting. Remember that your thumb goes in the small hole. The rest of your fingers go in the bigger hole. Like this. You probably can't fit your pinky in, and that's okay. And your thumb is always going to stay up. Okay, so I say thumb is closest to the ceiling. Not like this. Okay, that is all funky. Thumb stays up when you cut. And remember, you're doing little baby shark. Okay, not the big mama dad shark like this, okay? So when you're cutting, little tiny cuts will get you the most precise cuts to follow lines or whatever you're trying to cut out. So today what we're going to do is we are going to try to make our line types, and then we're going to try to cut them out on the line. All right, and so this is just a really good day and a good lesson to be practicing those fine motor skills, practicing cutting, because we know that collage is a really big part of art where we cut paper and we assemble it together. And that's how a lot of artists create their art, like Henri Matisse and Eric Carle. They cut out shapes and glue it down to their project, okay? So art is not just drawing and painting. And so we have to get good at cutting so that we can add this element to our art. So the first thing I want you to do is get a piece of scrap paper. It can have whatever you want on it. Like maybe I'll use this one that has some notes on it, okay? Because that doesn't matter. All right, it actually would be better because then you'd be recycling. I want you to draw from edge to edge, let's say 6 different lines, maybe 5. We'll see if we can do all of them. Okay, so of course I'm gonna start with a straight line. So I'm gonna do edge to edge, which means the top of your paper all the way to the bottom of your paper. Over here, I'm gonna try a curvy line. So it's just gonna wave in and out, back and forth, back and forth. Don't wanna give yourself too much of a challenge by making the bumps really, really tight in there. It gets really hard to cut. But if you do wanna give yourself a challenge, you could try that. All right, I think zigzag is the hardest to cut. The tighter and smaller you make the zigzags, the harder it is to cut. So you could try big ones and you could try little ones to give yourself a challenge. Okay, but still top to bottom. And let's see, what should we add here? I got a straight, I got a curvy, I got a zigzag. Do you think we should cut a loopy line? That might be tricky, but let's try it. The loopy line. Oh my gosh, I'm giving us a challenge. Okay, and then if you have room to do one more, so you could do a staircase line, you could do like a castle line like this. You could do this type of line, scalloped line, or you could do a mixture like mine. I have a staircase line, a scallop line, and a straight line. Oh my goodness. Okay, now what we have to do is try to cut on the line from the top edge to edge and save each piece. So I'm not gonna make you watch me cut these out. That would be extremely boring. We are going to, I'll speed this up for you, but Okay, so remember, we are trying to do little cuts. And then when you get to a spot where it's a tricky cut, it's not just straight, remember to turn your paper. Okay, if you turn your paper, that seems to be easier than having to turn your whole arm. Okay, so I'm turning my paper, you probably can't see, but I'm turning my paper here. And I'm pulling my paper back. So I'm kind of moving my cutting arm and my paper holding arm. Alrighty, so you saw me cutting all of that out. That was kind of cool, and I like how at the end, like you could see, I was trying to fit it together like a puzzle. That was kind of fun, right? And so now we're gonna do, that was our first activity for cutting. Now we're gonna do our second activity for cutting. So we're gonna stick with the line idea. The first thing you're gonna do though, is you're going to create a design on one side with crayon or something that's not permanent, okay, doesn't show through. And then we are going to put some lines on the other side and cut it out and try and put it back together like a puzzle. And I know that sounds confusing, so for this step, let's watch me first and then do it when I'm done. Okay, so I am going to make you want to choose a design that fills up the space so that you're easily able to do your puzzle. If you have a lot of white space, when you go to try and fit your pieces together, if they're all white, it's hard to know where the white spaces go. So I'm gonna try and fill up my drawing here. So let's see, I need to make something that would fill up a big space. Maybe I should write my name and then fill in the spaces. Do you think I should, or should I go, I kinda wanna make a rainbow. I think I'm going to do a rainbow. All right, so I made my design on this side. I chose to do a rainbow. It's not my greatest coloring job, I know that. It's hard for me to color on my easel without being able to put my head in front of it so I can see what I'm doing. I can't hold a crayon that way, so that's why it's a little scribbly, but that's okay. You guys know what I was trying to do. So now what I'm gonna do, so your design, you want to kind of take up your whole paper. So that's why I put some blue stripes behind my rainbow, because there was a lot of white space and I kind of wanted it, I want all of it to be filled up. Now I'm gonna turn it over. I'm gonna take my Sharpie or any marker that you have, or you could even use a crayon, and I'm going to add 2 lines going down my page and 2 lines going across my page. That will set me up with 9 squares to try to fit back together for my project. Now, if you want a challenge, you could do more lines than that if you're really good at doing puzzles. But I don't want it to be too hard for you to fit back together. So I'm gonna do it with 2 and 2. If you wanted it to be 3 and 3, you could try that. Okay, 2 and 2, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna do a scalloped line or a bumpy line. It's my first one going down, and my second one is gonna be a zigzag. Now I'm gonna do a straight, maybe like a straight diagonal. And then this one I'm gonna do a curvy. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut these out, and then I'm gonna try and place my pieces back together again. Now this only has 9 puzzle pieces, like I said. That shouldn't be too tricky. If you wanted to add one more in, you could do that. Like maybe I could add another line over here to make my puzzle a little harder. You have to decide what you have time for and what you want to do. All right, I'm going to cut these guys out. Let's flip this around. Alrighty, so as you saw, I assembled my rainbow back together again after cutting it all out like a puzzle. And I took a picture of it, so I hope you guys can get a picture of your puzzle as well. You might have to turn your Chromebook down to get a picture of it on the table, because holding it up is not really possible when it's all been cut up. But anyway, I hope you guys had fun practicing cutting. So I want to see that you practice your lines, and then I want you to try practicing your lines again with a design on the other side. Okay, so try and get a picture of it. I know it'll be a little tricky to get a picture of a puzzle and the lines. You don't need to do both. Just send me a picture of one of them so I know you did your work, okay? I will see you next week. Good job.